original Polynesians, the first Polynesians, before we had any contact with Melanesians or the Southeast Asians, right, or the Micronesians. The first Polynesians came from the Americas, and I still believe that, populated the Hawaiians, all these islands, Maui, whatever you want to call them, Maui and his descendants, they made it all the way here to Tonga. They went to Fiji. This is the first time they met black people, right? And they were going to make Fiji the ancestral home, but what they did, like, this was the home of the Polynesian people, was meant to be, but I think when they met the black people there, the Maui, or the Maui and his descendants, retracked back to Tonga, and that's where you get the Tongan Empire, or the kings of Tonga. Now, the kings of Tonga then had a relationship, or you may say, may have made sort of like a royal family or bloodline contact with the Fijians. Then you find that the Tongan, like the first Tongan kings, had control over Samoa. Maui had some of the kings controlling Samoa, some of his sons controlling Hawaii, some of his sons controlling Tahiti and Cook Islands, New Zealand, and then some of his descendants' sons controlled all these islands over here. So it was just one language. Okay? And what happened was, whether Polynesians over here rebelled against the rule of the Tongan kings, they were all sent here in Samoa. So they were all considered slaves of the nobles. So this is where the Tongans kept all the Polynesians who rebelled against the nobles as slaves. And in order to to tell the difference between a slave and a noble, that's where the tattooing came in. And it came here in Fiji. This is where it originated the tattooing of the hands or the legs, in order to show that you are a slave, and to make you look different from the nobles. They tattooed you. And this is where the legend of the Samoan, of the two Samoan women swimming the way all the way back to Samoa. And then I feel like they must have told the horrors of what's happening in Fiji, what the nobles are doing to our people in Fiji. And then over here, this is where you may say the Great Rebellion happened. So what happened was, the Samoans, or the Samoan chiefs, or the Samoans, the men, then got the battle, the tattoo, the whole tattoo, taking on the pain. Like, this was a way of like taking the markings of the slaves. And then what they did, right, was they invited all the royal kings, the kings of Tonga, all the kings, all the royal kings, all the nobles of the family into Samoa. They all came from New Zealand, Tahiti, all the high caste family came into Samoa. And this is maybe where I believe the kapa came in. The Samoans got a lot of the high caste, or the nobles, or the ruling elites so drunk that there was a massive slaughter of all the nobles here in Samoa. A big slaughter. And then, but for some reason, the Tongan king escaped. So he admired their battle for some reason. It's so funny, the story of how it goes. But he admired the Samoan, the Samoan battle. That he promised from that day on that he was never going to fight the Samoa. And it's written in Samoa, the speech of the Tongan king. And so the Tongan king went back to Tonga, and there was no more wars for I don't know how many years. And at that time, like what he's showing right here, that is when the Samoan, the power of the Samoans grew. It grew really strong. And Samoa, that's where you find the language change. And Samoans, Tongans, Niueans, even some Fijians, Tuvalu, Tokelau, these are all the islands that Samoans control. They all started to speak the language, a different type of language that came from the Samoans. That's what I believe. That's how the language changed. But here's the difference, right? Unlike the Tongans, the Samoans could never have that unity under one king. They could never do that. Even today, they can't do that. So there were parts of Takolau, parts of Niue, parts of Tualu, parts of Ratuma, parts of Tonga that Samoan chiefs controlled. They could not unify it. And because of that, and because the Samoans were warring with each other, and because the Tongan Empire shrunk so badly, that you could say that Hawaii and all these islands over here, and Rapa Nui and Tahiti and New Zealand, they ended up retaining the original language of the Tongan kings of Maui. That's how all these islands over here, to Hawaii and New Zealand, retain the same ancient language of the Tongans. And what happened was that you could say that the Tahitians then took control of the Cook Islands over Samoa, and then they repopulated the New Zealand. And that's how the language from East Polynesia and these outliner, that's how they retain the same language, because of the Tongan, because that is the original language of the Tongan, the Polynesian people. This here is a new language created by the Samoans.
Around the same time, which may explain why Northern Outlier and East Polynesian are similar because they both originated from the same source. However, these alternative explanations do not fully match with the linguistic evidence. According to Wilson, neither borrowing nor bifurcated settlements from some location in central West Polynesia provides an adequate alternative to the Northern Outliers East Polynesian hypothesis to explain the over 200 distinctive innovations shared by North.
Okay, I might do another part. I only do the editing for like 10 minutes.
Northern Outliers and East Polynesian languages. Wilson argues that at present there is no body of linguistic evidence for any other hypothesis regarding the immediate origins of the East Polynesian speaking peoples anywhere as extensive as that supporting the Northern Outliers East Polynesian hypothesis. There is not only linguistic evidence linking the Northern Outliers to East Polynesia, but ethnographic evidence as well. It is well documented that there are numerous cultural differences between West and East Polynesia. For